Imagine a vast and ancient land, torn apart by corruption, poverty, and despair. A land that was once the center of one of the most powerful civilizations on the planet, now weakened by decades of foreign humiliation, opium wars, and a faltering dynasty. This is China in the mid-19th century, ruled by the already decadent Qing Dynasty, a monarchy of Manchu origin, increasingly disconnected from the suffering of its predominantly Han population. While the people starved, the imperial court lost itself in empty rituals, corrupt officials, and golden palaces that contrasted with the ruined villages. In this chaos emerges a man who would change the course of history, not with the power of the army or gold, but with a revelation. A man who claimed to have traveled to heaven, spoken with God, and discovered that he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. His name was Hong Xiuquan. Hong was not born into royalty or a powerful family. He came into the world in 1814, in a village in southern China, the son of poor peasants. His life, like that of millions in his country, was marked by the struggle to survive. But Hong had something special. He was brilliant. From a young age, he excelled in school, and everyone placed their hopes on him passing the imperial examinations, the only path to social advancement in the rigid Chinese system. But fate was cruel. Hong failed not once, but 4 times. And after each failure, his mental health deteriorated. In his last attempt, on the verge of collapse, he fell ill for weeks. It was then that he had the visions that would change his life, and that of millions more. In his delirium, Hong said he had been taken to heaven, where he met an old man with a white beard god, who revealed to him that he, Hong, was his son, the younger brother of Jesus Christ. His mission on earth: to eradicate the demon from the world, cleanse China of corruption, and establish a new kingdom of peace. After recovering, Hong did not know what to do with that experience. He kept his visions to himself for years, until a Christian pamphlet he had received some time before clicked in his mind. Years later, Hong reread that pamphlet and understood, or believed he understood, what he had seen. God had spoken to him. He was no ordinary man. He was the new Messiah of China. Thus was born his faith, a strange mix of Christianity, mysticism, and Chinese tradition, which soon attracted followers among the marginalized, the oppressed, the desperate. In 1847, he founded the Society of God Worshippers. In a world where the traditional gods seemed to have abandoned them, his message of divine justice, equality, and redemption resonated deeply. In a few years, Hong went from being a failed teacher to a charismatic leader with miles of faithful followers. The situation was perfect for a revolution. Southern China seethed with resentment against the Qing court. Peasants suffered from droughts, high taxes, and the abuses of landowners. Local officials were corrupt and brutal, and worst of all, many felt that the Qing dynasty of Manchu origin was a foreign force that no longer had the right to rule them. In 1851, Hong and his followers began their open rebellion against the Qing in the Jinshan uprising. It was more than an insurrection. It was the birth of a new kingdom. Hong proclaimed himself the heavenly king of the heavenly kingdom of great peace, a theocratic state with the sacred mission of transforming China from its foundations. In his vision, the heavenly kingdom would be a utopia without sin or corruption, where men and women would be equal, where there would be no private property or addictions. Opium, alcohol, tobacco, gambling, everything was forbidden. Polygamy, common among the powerful, was also abolished. His society was based on rigid religious precepts, inspired by his interpretation of Christianity, but deeply adapted to the Chinese context. The Taiping Army, as they would become known, grew rapidly. Their message of divine justice attracted thousands: peasants, artisans, former soldiers, women, and even bandits joined their ranks. In 1853, they took the city of Nanjing, one of the most important in China, and made it their capital. It was a devastating blow to the Qing dynasty, which seemed incapable of stopping the rebel advance. From Nanjing, the Taiping attempted to expand north, towards the heart of the empire, hoping to take Beijing. But there, their difficulties began. Although they managed to control vast regions of southern and central China, they were never able to secure the north or take the imperial capital. Furthermore, internal tensions began to arise. The leadership of the Heavenly Kingdom was deeply marked by religious fanaticism, but also by paranoia and power struggles. Hong Xiuquan increasingly isolated himself from daily governance, delegating functions to his generals and heavenly brothers. One of them, young Xiuqi, known as the East King, became an influential and dangerous leader. His ambitions grew, and in a dramatic act, he was executed on Hong's own orders in a bloody purge. This event marked the beginning of an internal decline, of conflicts between factions, betrayals, and assassinations that weakened the Taiping movement from within. In parallel, the Qing dynasty, which seemed doomed, began to react. Emperor Daiguang had died, but his successor Xianfeng allowed regional leaders like Zheng Gefan, a Confucian scholar turned general, to take the initiative. Zheng built his own army with loyalists from the south and began a slow Unlike the traditional Imperial army, Zheng's armies were disciplined, motivated by Confucian values, and had strong local cohesion. But they were not alone. As the Heavenly Kingdom grew, the European powers began to worry. Despite sharing a Christian basis, the Taiping were dangerous for trade, especially in key regions like Shanghai. Great Britain, France, and the United States then decided to intervene, not officially, but with advisors, markets, and technology. The most famous of them was Frederick Townsend Ward, an American adventurer who organized the so-called ever-victorious army. After his death, command passed to Charles Gordon, a British officer who would later be known as Gordon of Khartoum. These armies supported the defense of Shanghai and other strategic points, helping to curb the Taiping expansion. The war became even more brutal. Systematic massacres, razed villages, religious repression, mass exiles. In some provinces, the population was reduced by more than half. Famine struck hard. Diseases such as cholera and dysentery spread uncontrollably, and yet the Taiping resisted for more than a decade. But the Heavenly Kingdom was not only a military force, it was also an unprecedented social experiment. In Nanjing, the streets were redesigned according to religious principles. Men and women lived separately. Even marriages had to receive authorization. The economy was centralized. Private property was abolished. Officials were appointed based on religious merits and doctrinal fidelity. They sought a paradise, but created a spiritual dictatorship. Accounts from the time are contradictory. Some spoke of order and discipline. Others described fear, brutal punishments, public executions, and a population terrified of disobeying divine commands. Hong Xiuquan's utopian vision was beginning to look more and more like a theocratic nightmare, and while he increasingly locked himself away in his heavenly world, the real world was collapsing. In his last years, Hong barely left his palace. He fed on roots and wrote manifesto. He delegated command to his brothers and awaited divine signs. While the war raged at the gates of his city, in 1864, Nanjing was besieged. The siege lasted 4 months. Hunger and despair dominated the population. Hong died shortly before the fall. Some say poisoned, others by voluntary starvation. His body was buried in secret and then exhumed by the Qing, who publicly burned it to destroy his legend. The Heavenly Kingdom of Great Peace fell, but its shadow remained. The Taiping Rebellion left between 20 and 30 million dead. It is one of the bloodiest wars in human history, more than World War I, more than the French Revolution and the American Civil War combined. And yet, in the West, almost no one has heard its name. Why? Because it doesn't fit into traditional narratives. Because it's hard to classify. Was it a religious movement? A peasant revolution? A precocious communist utopia? A sect? It was all of that ... and more. It was the cry of a wounded nation. It was the desperate response of a people abandoned by their gods and emperors. And it was also a warning. Because today, as then, societies are experiencing moments of rupture. Faith, inequality, promises of salvation, messianic leaders. All of that is still among us. And the history of the Taiping Rebellion reminds us how easily hope can turn into fanaticism, and how the dream of justice can end bathed in blood. So, if this story impacted you, don't leave it in oblivion. Share this video, comment on it, talk about it, research more. Subscribe for more stories that are not in the books, but that marked the destiny of the world. Because history is not only about great empires or known heroes, it is also about the forgotten, about the defeated, about those who dreamed of changing everything ... and almost succeeded.